Loud. Okay, 6:07, call the meeting to order. We have 6:07, we have a full board present. Thank you all for being here. Good to see you all. For those who are online and here, thank you for coming and listening in. Approval of minutes from May 1st and 8th that Alfredo sent through. The first was the one that we delayed to approve last week, so we're doing that this week. Yeah. Second, so both those minutes are approved. Thank you, Alfredo, for doing those and putting those in order. Let's get right into it. There's two main points of discussion. One is RFP and roof updates and selecting of the roof contractor. So for the record as we go, Alfredo, and if I need to fill anything in, let me know, but okay, you'll say it. You want to lead this then?
Just to recap what we did before last week.
Okay, let me spin this to you.
Okay, so as far as the RSP process, I'm gonna do a recap. We had our bid submitted last Friday, May 3rd. The president, the treasurer, and the secretary were only persons from the board who attend the procedure. The time for receiving the bids were from 12 to 6. We opened the bids right after 6. The total bidders was 4 from 8 that bid, and the results were as follows. Roof technology for TPO system was 1.0725447. R&D roofing was 1.460349. Duralast and 1693970 TPO. CMC construction was 1.2032, and RNY was 1.9, 1.6 with the TPO. The interview of the contractors were happening on the following Tuesday, May 7 and Wednesday, May 8, respectively. We have performed a 14 questionnaire to each one of the contractors to assess their company profile, values, mission statements, strengths and weakness, and capability to perform the job. After reviewing the results, the board inquires contractors to adjust minor items that were not included properly and their estimates as per the scope of work. We have collected all the correction and adjustment until yesterday afternoon. We are now in the process of deliberation for the final contractor's award. Next step will be the contract negotiation and preparation and review of the contract document by our legal consultants. That's all for the RSP.
Good. So now we have that process on the record, how we did that and moved through all that. So thank you for that. Like Alfredo said, there were 4 companies who actually submitted bids. There were more who either declined or whatever. And so we're here tonight fairly short. That is the RFP and roof updates. Now let's have a discussion about those 4 and what our thoughts are on each of those.
Okay, so we have updated numbers, especially from Junior, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Anybody else did any updates to the numbers?
RD did a NRD. They did a minor. They found cheaper shingles. I think it was that was where they.
No, they actually found the next level down from that brand, which I actually make. Yeah. it was exactly what it was expected before, but wasn't exactly what it is. But anyway, I think that they only considered at the end was enclosure because they didn't want to
Deal with enclosure.
deal with enclosures so far now, and we got the numbers for it.
Okay, so on the, before we go to the, actually, let's do this different. Before we go to the specific roofers, we had a discussion last week at the end in terms of that Alan brought up.
Yeah.
A potential solution, because as we went through the interviews with the different roofers, all of them were very cautious about the enclosures. What does it mean? What's underneath it? How do we do it? How do we bid that? How do we, on and on and on and on. Are we liable if it's just rotten underneath, all those different concerns. So Alan,
So, yeah, so basically the idea is to hire our own engineer that's gonna do the drawings for each one of the enclosures and take care of the whole process, legalizing with the city. Now, when I say legalizing with the city, it can be that the city will approve, it can be the city will say not approved or approved if you change the windows or if you do this and that. And that's gonna be a later conversation with the unit owner, and it's gonna be at the unit owner's expense. So obviously, we're hoping that it's gonna run smooth and the city's gonna say, yes, approved, but there's a chance that it's not gonna be that way. But regardless, I think that the idea of we controlling the situation, having an independent engineer doing all 4 enclosures, we're talking about 4 enclosures for building 2 and 3. That's gonna be also money-wise, I think it's gonna make more sense. And the roofers don't wanna think, they just wanna see what says in what's approved by the engineers in the plan and follow the plan. That's the basic, that's what it is. So I actually approached one company, another company still didn't get back to me, but one of them, I already sent them the photos of the enclosures, and she said she's gonna get back to me with the general idea and a visit with the engineer on site to take measurements. And that's where I'm at right now, so I'm waiting for them to follow. But if anybody knows, in my opinion, we need a small engineer, not height-wise, but small company. Because if we deal with a big company, it's gonna cost us more. I mean, and this is a job that any engineer.
as long as they're certified.
Certified and they can put a signature. That's what it is. As a matter of fact, the one I'm in discussion, she's not an engineer. She is a company of architectural. They do the drawings, they have an engineer that signs for them, so. The important thing that
Backed
it's
by the engineer.
backed by the engineer. So the important thing is that everything is legalized, done correctly, and as fast as possible, and it doesn't look like it's the roofer. And if the roofers do that, they're gonna do exactly the same thing. They're gonna hire an engineer. They're gonna make money on us for the engineer. It's gonna be the same exact thing. So I'm already on it, but please, if any of you knows of an engineer or a small company that does that kind of things, that would be great.
Yeah, we'll be bringing another meeting, at least 2 proposals.
Okay,
Yeah,
The only thing I would recommend is whenever we have the proposal, because we're gonna do the one-to-one, I believe, contracts with the unit owners. We should inform of this process, knowing that there are at least 3 of them, I believe, that already paid, or 2 that already paid, and 1 still need the proof of that, which means it is like, I would say, a discount of anything that is gonna cost enclosure of that unit, but above the value of 5,000,
Yeah.
whatever will cost us more needs to be charged to the unit and
Yeah.
not to the 41.
100%, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's, yeah,
and I think we're all in agreement on that,
because there are certain unit
that
owners already
threshold they
paid.
paid. And those who didn't pay or did not or cannot provide the proof,
the period.
then they pay
Everything.
everything.
Yeah.
So this is a discount, because at the end of the day, they were also.
They were screwed. That's basically,
The technical term.
yeah, okay. So, by the way, on that point, do we have a specific answer from the unit that is being sold regarding, that?
No, I have not seen anything. Regarding
All right, so-
the agreement of the enclosure, it's the money of the enclosure to go to the area to be. Remember?
Yeah, well, there's really no money back. It's more of
This,
putting less money in.
there's no money back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there's no money back. The only money back, no, the only thing is the door, the drywall. So, okay, so yeah, let's just continue with the project. Okay. So I would suggest, let's go over the because I was looking at the Excel.
Real quick, just matter of priority, the quicker we can get the engineer up and running, then the quicker that timeline lapse between
Yeah.
city, roofer, engineer, permit,
Yeah.
execution.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are qualified engineers or firms that do this type of thing, then please bring them forward. So there's 4.
Anybody has the Excel comparison open by any chance? You got it? Okay,
Right?
What do you guys think about that spreadsheet coming from?
yeah, this is our,
Seven. And I would like to find the program.
yeah, I was trying to figure that out myself.
I
We-
you guys will see it, so.
So I think you're gonna be picky because you put some holes, some of them are underlined, so. Visually is very.
I actually went, over the weekend and then after, from the last information that we had provided by the contractor, I got my little, notations,
Even before that, should we talk about the letter we received from Valley Bank? It's not because of the treasurer, but I think we should say something in the meeting that we received a letter.
Okay.
I know,
You wanna go ahead? I mean,
that we received a positive letter for the financing of $1.2 million. That the interest rate is much lower than it was initially announced. It's still high compared obviously with the past, but we are not living in the low interest rate, so it's a 7.5. It's a 15 years loan that allow us to reduce the burden in each one of the monthly fees. And yes, we are still pending things like, oh, it would be great if you could share the reconciliation of March and April. I would remember these are pending from Primex. And yes, we might have to go for an alternative path to get March and April. But I think these are excellent news, at this is the environment, and that what we said to Jaime is that, and I would definitely recommend this, even if Jaime didn't mention these, is that we have all the approvals that are needed inside of the community before moving. Is like what we did last year. It's, I would say, insanity, because what we need to have is votes for the community. Okay, we're going to have a special assessment. This will cost you ABC regarding 1 unit, 2 units, or 3 bedrooms. We have the approval, and obviously it's a decision of the community. If the community says, no, we don't want to approve the special assessment, then we don't finalize the roof project. But I think it's critical that we have this votation right now, even before moving to any type of program, so we don't have any type of surprise afterwards when we have the loan, when we start the works, etc.
So what's the timeline on the next step?
The next step will be on the next meeting, or even before that. I would say that we need a special meeting, a members meeting to approve special assessment, the values, etc., regarding this. That would be.
So approving a special assessment is done by the community, but you're talking about, do we just want to pay for it as a lump sum, or we want to pay it over time? Is that the?
No, that they don't have to approve a special assessment.
Yeah.
No, yeah, this is a $1.2 million. So we need for me, we need to approve two things. First of all, the project itself, if we are aligned, and then the way we are financing the project, because at the end of the day, this is gonna be an extra $200 and something on the maintenance fee. So I would feel much more comfortable, once again, to ask the community if and everybody would have two chances. They can do a lump sum, which is highly recommendable due to the fact that it's a 7.5 interest rate, or they can do it throughout 15 years, monthly payments.
But if it's close, that's, if the community says no, we don't want a special assessment period.
This was what the community said, by the way, last year regarding that $2.5 million budget. And I think we should continue that type of practice.
I mean, we need to.
It's a clear justification because
Yeah.
the money is spent, the project, the cost is going to be related. So it's not like I'm inventing numbers. It's like that, you know.
Right.
My point is that as a fiduciary, we have to, if we don't fix the roofs, we don't get insurance. We're at high risk, and that would be on us.
Right.
Not on the community,
But
it's
that-
our decision to make on special.
I know, but that is exactly the same argument that the previous board could have taken to approve the $2.5 million budget. And I think that was a good move from the previous board. They said, look, we are not gonna approve these without and even the attorney was in between if the board could approve or not. I would not feel, as a treasurer, I would never recommend to move ahead without the approval of the mayor. Never.
You need to have a vote.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means because to do that kind of vote, I
Mhm.
think it requires 2 weeks of, if I'm not mistaken, no? 2 weeks notice?
I believe so.
Okay, so we need to move on this now fast. Why? Because at the same time, we moving with the lawyer on checking the contract, and we cannot sign the contract until we have the approval from our.
But also Valley is still waiting for some reconciliations of March and April. Things have gone very, very fast, but we are here in trying to circle the square or square the circle, whatever. But yeah,
Special meeting on Friday.
sorry,
Friday, can you do that special meeting this coming Friday?
what special meeting?
What special meeting?
To vote?
To do that.
To vote or what?
No, but we need 2 weeks for communicating to, so we need to.
Well, then I'll just do this, I'll email out to you, Alexis, and
Yes.
see like. How much time do we need, how many votes are necessary?
What is the letter we need to send?
Procedurally, what are the things we need to follow?
And we need that to give us the form.
Yeah.
So we don't have to think and just make photocopies and mail it. 'cause
Yeah,
don't have the copy.
we have the form, the previous form, and we can try to use, but I believe Avi will have tons of special assessment things.
Yeah.
And I would feel, and for example, one of the questions that Avi or Alexis did regarding special assessment, that was nothing written in the previous one. Usually the special assessment will say, if you sell your house, the special assessment will have to be paid in full. And I believe that is the recommendation we should do, especially when we are in a financial situation that is not the best.
But
And usually,
But I think he said that you don't have to pay it in full to sell your house.
he said that because there's nothing written
there's
when we approved the special assessment. So he said, what was written in the special assessment? Because it was nothing written regarding that, then no, you don't have to pay it full. Do we want to keep that, or do we want to, because normally you will have to pay the special assessment in full, at least on the cases I know you're in Florida.
It makes sense,
Yeah. Makes sense to pay in full.
yeah.
And by the way, the special assessment will be within the mortgage or within the cash or whatever. So it's usually a drop of water in it. And I think it makes sense. Like, by the way, Unit 2 did it. I believe you did it, correct?
Mhm.
The
For the
electric
electrical
part.
room.
So
Okay, but so right now, what is speaking in the whole thing is the reconciliation of March and April?
I don't even believe it's, if you read the email from Jaime, so I think it's more a comfort zone for them. So the letter is already there, the beginning of the compromise is already there. We have like 12, maybe 4 months for line of credit that is confirmed into a loan. The interest rate might be negotiated along this year, but always with a spread of 2.5 regarding an internal.
So meaning that if, because it takes 2 years until we close the loan, correct?
It's a line of credit.
First it's an upgrade and then it's a loan.
Yes, but we don't, so the line of credit converts into a loan.
Whenever we're ready or 2 years, okay. So during that time that we're doing the roofs, my question is, let's say a year from now, can we, if the interest rate went down, can we renegotiate?
There is that clause that you always maintain a margin or a spread of 2.5 related to the normal interbank interest rate. So yes, the answer is yes. And also.
But they take 2.5 on top of the,
Which
on top of the,
What is the interest
yeah.
rate they are receiving? So, I look at that 5 years.
Sorry?
It's 5 years. Right? That's-
no.
No. But let me just say this, let me go to the. The letter says. 30%. What they say is this. Interest rate 7.5 fixed for the first 12 years. At the year 12, the rate will be adjusted based on the 5-year treasury rate. So the treasury will plus a 2.5%. What tells them the loan will have to close within 45 days upon execution of the term sheet. What I'm seeing here is if the interest rates go down, if we already paid a big portion of the 3.5, we might want another bank to do the financing. So we
Refinance.
we refinance with another bank. So for this, we're gonna have at least for 12 years, we have a 7.5. But whenever the interest rates comes down, we might get to values of guys. You have two chances. So you have to continue to have our loan with 6 or 5.5, or it comes through this or whatever bank, and we do the financing with them. Well, the only thing we need to guarantee by that time is that the 3.5 that still exists, plus this whatever 6%, still compensates in the overall, because we have a very good loan for the 3.5.
Yeah.
But it's a 10-year thing, so in 5 years, it might be already almost paid. So at the end of the day, we
Yeah.
might be able to.
Okay, but my question regarding interest was during the line of credit. So during the line of credit, my question, before we lock in, before it converts into a loan,
You're only paying interest.
no,
Yeah, it says 24 monthly payments of interest only on funds drawn. This is the non-revolving line of credit.
okay,
A borrower may elect to start amortizing principal earlier in case the project is completed before the 24 months. What does it mean? Is that imagine that we do the project in 5 months, which I would hope we do. Then we have that money. Why are we not starting to depreciate or amortize so that moment says stop, we're gonna start to pay the loan, especially.
Yeah,
because it's that.
we convert it into a loan.
Whenever
Yeah.
it is, it's.
Yeah, but so my question is, let's say 6 months from now, the interest rate went down, which, hopefully being hopeful.
We will.
Can we go back to them after we already took some of the money and say, hey, now we're ready to convert it into a loan, but now the interest rate went down, can you do something about it?
We can always negotiate, but to be credible, we need to have a bank that is willing to take their position. So right now, 7.5 is a good interest rate for right now. The 12 years is too long, by the way, but we don't have a lot of power right now. The problem we have is that the lack of power we have is in fact a positive thing that we have in our balance sheet, which is a loan with a 3.5% in the moment that the government bonds are giving you 5%. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's bad news in terms of negotiation that comes from a good news on our side.
Is there any prepayment penalty?
No, in Florida, there's no. And
So I want to say a couple things that, Joao glossed over them, but I want to bring credit to him. When we were first talking with Valley, there were 3 primary points they were saying. 8.5% interest rate was sort of where they were going. Maximum $800,000 and no more than 10 years loan. And through what Joao did, got 7.5, 15-year and 1.2 million. If we had only gotten 800,000,
we couldn't finish it.
We're up on the roofs ourselves, swearing at each other. So, you know, each of us brings a strength into this team, and I think really where Joao, the work you did, not the 611 documents for this, but for Valley, you know, the conversations that we had, the responsiveness to them, I think really helped bring the steel across. So thank you. Good job. So to close this up, I'll send an email, Avi Alexis. We need a special assessment meeting. Procedurally walk us through that, and then we'll all see the answer.
Okay.
And if he does say 2 weeks, then we got to set that up quick, because I'm going out of town. Not that the whole world revolves around me, but
I'll be going out of town almost the entire June.
June, yeah,
I'll be remote, yes.
I'm also most of June. So all that to
I'm
say.
gonna be out of town in my mind, I wish.
But we'll get the answer, and then we know how to act after they respond to us. So then we can organize that. So engineer, Valley Bank, 4 options. The roofers, 4 bids. Again, we were going through a framework of price, quality, and time. RD, they did send something.
RD are,
I don't see anything else from you.
RD are
Okay.
from there, from out of town.
I thought,
No.
no, there,
Yes.
I saw me and Alfredo, I thought we all got it, that's on me, I'll forward it now.
Well, basically what R&D, forward was the enclosures. They will also take into consideration the enclosure, and it was about between 10 and 20K, 20,000 per enclosure. That's a rough estimate, and they adjust some verbiage on one of the system.
But in the enclosure, in the price, that includes also material and, or
No,
just
it's only legalization,
between 10 and 20,000
10 and 20,000.
per each.
Yeah, per enclosure.
Crazy.
Okay,
So,
this is not this.
go ahead.
Are you gonna say something?
No, I'm trying to decide the process, you go.
I'll just say what I'll hear, what I heard, and what is my strong recommendation. So I heard 4, 2 of them is high tenure roofers, very well prepared, very knowledgeable about the questions that were being asked. One of them in schools, military buildings, etc. The other one in condos in Florida, etc. So the other one is a small company that gave us a very high and expensive budget that we don't even have price, even in the revision, that prices, and I have the numbers in front of us, in front of me, much higher. I saw a more opportunistic company on the 4th one, and so now putting names on it, I think RT and CNC are for me the 2 leading positions. I saw them professional people that have been doing roofs for the last 20, 30, 40 years, which gives me a little bit of confidence. The other one is a new arrival in the market, R&D, those 6, 7 years in the market. I didn't like the attitude, the posture, etc. Zero at all. And between R&T and CC, after making the interview here with R&T, my vote would go definitely for R&T. I felt them more customized to our neighborhood. I think it's also very high tenure. They are living here in Florida. They are from Florida. CC would come from outside. And I think both of them will be amazingly served, I hope. because they are roofers, they have been doing this. And obviously we need to guarantee in the contract all of these. So my order would be RT, CNC. Then I would put R&I and then R&D as I really didn't give, I didn't believe in the value proposition on R&D at all. So it's more a gut feeling than anything else on the R&D.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be my list.
I was actually, went ahead and we investigate a little bit, and I went to the BBB, and all the companies are okay. They have zero complaints. They're all professional. I was actually checking on the experience. So Roof Technology has 12 years experience here in South Florida, while R&D has 7 years. CC have 27 years. I don't know, to our states, but not in Florida. And R&Y have 14 years experience. So no complaints. For Roof Technology, what I actually got caught with his final number, which is 1,072,547 for the TPO. If you look at the contract carefully, they are including the re-roofing, but only building 2 and 3 shingles. So you need to expect a change order for building 1, for Clubhouse, and the rest. So this is not contemplated in his proposal, which is going to take it approximately to 1.7, making the calculation. So this number is a little bit fuzzy for understanding exactly what the scope of work was, because we sent out a scope of work that it was clearly done by phases, and that needs to be included because we don't want, at the end of the signing of the contract, any surprise.
The numbers, so I did the numbers on the board. So I took out, for example, for R&I, I took out everything that is related to building 1, 2, and Clubhouse, which has the shingle lines. And even that, if you go for a modified proposal, which is not a TPO, it's a build up or whatever, it's at 1,287,000. So it's $200,000 above RMT. If you go to the TPO solution, even without the shingles, et cetera, you go for 1,446,000. So I don't know how you get to the 1.7 million.
I'm trying to get it because he's not including the stock and this part, the dumpster, the electrical rooms are not specified. So those are work that needed to be contemplated. And for me, that was something that I was taking approximately to that level. So let me just keep going with the second
Numbers on that electrical room. There's one proposal that talks about $9,000. So let's be specific on the numbers, because if you say one proposal that is 1,079,000 suddenly goes for 1.7, I would ask you to put numbers on that.
was
The number I have the number.
Actually, I'm making an approximation from the number because that number is not really real compared to the whole that we need to do. And that's exactly the whole for asking for the whole. So in my opinion, he wasn't responsible enough, knowing that he had 12 years of experience. So to put a proposal that is only addressed only one section of the project to make sure that the number it's very, like tentative, so that it's not the same because all the other contractors were responsive. They already submit for all the phases in a section of enclosure. So for example, R&D, they actually do the 2 bids, 1,460,349 for Durolash, knowing that we have already $120,000 in this. So if you add to that, you will actually get a little bit more, like a 1.6. So, and the TPO is exactly the same. So I'm just kind of like, trying to understand, what is going on here. So, they are basically 1.6. Stock is included. There is a note on the contract that says, note, electrical and mechanical changes on the roof are considered as a change order. And we need to make sure, because when we did the walkthrough, nobody was on the roof, or at least I didn't know if he was already aware of it. So whatever things they want to see on electrical, mechanical, they wanna say, oh, there's a change order. So this is a surprise waiting for us, because those things are not clearly.
So it's good that you mention it,
It's what, it's
but
what.
we need, but what we can do is, those points that you just raised, we need to address it now with that contractor.
There's,
Let me
there-
just go, let me just go.
No, because some of
The-
the things that we're seeing, we need to put numbers. The stucco for building 2 and 3 right now amounts to $50,000. Plus, the electric room is 5,000, so we're talking about $55,000 in stucco and the electric room, 55. Well, if we have $55,000 warranty, it's $1,125,000. So
Well,
Okay.
the R&D included on their these prices. So I just want to actually do the math, because for the new system that R&D are working, I see that they're pretty much falling into the same price for the overall 1.6. So this is for me, my meeting. So CNC, it's 1.2, $1,203 and $200,000, I'm sorry. So plus the material, because they are using not TPO, they're using Duralast as well. So it's going to actually take you to basically 1.3, 1.4. So they are on the scope of work, it's incomplete. The enclosure are not considered, and neither the stucco and
Okay, so can we ask those questions? That these are valid questions that we need to, before we move
Well,
forward.
it's not specified on the contract, so that's what I actually.
Okay, so we can ask them to specify in the contract, especially change orders. Our roof has a lot of penetrations, like a lot of,
No,
things coming out.
the shingles are not included, so for me, this is an incomplete proposal, because the shingles are not contemplated, as you can see on the contract. So for me.
well, I get then this, in the shingle mansard's part of the bid.
And the.
Here's what it says: at buildings 2 and 3 only, remove existing mansard roof system. This is RT.
No, I'm talking about CNC right now.
No, but-
Talking about CNC.
Okay, but you said RT only did,
Only 2 and 3, but no 1, 4, and Clubhouse, and downstairs and all the other areas, and that's exactly what I see, because when they say only, prepare for a change order, because that is going to make up for whatever money it's.
And what I'm trying to say is that I believe we need to take a decision today.
No,
No, and then afterwards, we say, look, your proposal still doesn't have this, and this. These are the best prices we got. We need to match at least these best prices. And it's still not a decision for them, it's a decision for ourselves.
Well,
And
but
then
we were trying to compare apples to apples, so what I'm trying to actually, in my mindset, the way I think I would like to do, I'm checking experience, I'm checking, any
You mentioned
complaint.
that RT will end up 1.7 million, and I just want you to be specified how you get to 1.7 million in RT.
Well,
I'm not
it's
saying
an approximate calculation.
But tell me so you start with 1.08, okay? Even if you put the stucco.
You need to have reaching, but for your reaching building 1, building 4, which are the longest, by the way, you need to have a lot of, because there's a lot of non-condition, you need decking, and you need to actually replace on the decking, and there is an allowance, so we don't have the allowance for replacing the decking, flat shingles,
And also, let me tell you, RNI proposal for the shingle building 1, 2, and Clubhouse is 93,500. And this is the second part of the project, like we said.
That is not true, that's that amount, it is completely no, for reaching of 3 buildings of that complexity, like this one,
It is what
you need at least 300,000. 300,000 because we have taken repair, we have a lot of substrate that we need to actually repair, and also the shingle. So that is for me an estimate that 300,000 will take care.
so
of the
did junior underbid then?
I think that he included, but let me just go through my.
But it's including, I have all the numbers. What I'm just trying to do is that we have a discussion on numbers, or we have a discussion on assumptions. And in this case, we have numbers.
It's not an assumption, because I'm actually.
The proposal of our is 37.4 for the building 1 in terms of shingles. it has 36.3 million too. And in Clubhouse, 19.8, and I add them all together, 93.5. These are numbers. This is what is charging, which by the way should not have been included. But I think we are talking about modified. If the modified cost the overall 1,387,000. I took out the shingles to compare apples to apples, and it goes 1,287,000. And you're right, they still have in the 1,287,000 stucco that RT doesn't have. The stucco costs $40,000, $50,000. So at the end of the day, we can add those $50,000 to the RMT. It's 1,125,000 that compares with 1,287,000. So, but now the news is to 1,287,000 is a modified system. The other one is a TPO. And until now, everybody agreed that a TPO system is better than a modified system. So why should we pay 160,000 more for a system that is worse than the other one?
You are taking those numbers from RT, the number.
No, I'm taking the numbers from the
Okay, but
proposal.
so then you are making an assumption because the contractor of RT is the one that has to come up with the number because they have different trade and different work. I remember when he actually talked about the scope, he had an issue on that, even though he wants to actually contract a Stockholm person in order to do that. So we need to know their numbers because the numbers that work with this guy doesn't work with this contractor. So we need to be,
Well, they also-
I can estimate it.
Yeah.
They also said we could select our own stucco.
Yeah, so.
So if it goes to file on the stucco,
The stucco was 19,000 per building.
No, the stucco,
There was one of the bids that was
yeah,
19,000.
1921, and it does not do stucco, by the way. The only stucco that Junior is doing is in building 2 and 3, because they have destroyed the mansard, so we need the stucco. So what we are talking about here is 40,000 for the stucco on 2 and 3.
Yeah,
We are not
this
talking
is
about
supposed to be the price that the RT is gonna, and.
Okay, so let's say they give 60,000.
Yes, and then we go for a stucco, guys, and say, look, we have the stucco, and they might even say, do the stucco yourself.
The major item of building 1 in Clubhouse is gonna be the deck, and that's exactly something that is not gonna be, for sure, it's not gonna be 90,000 dollars. It's gonna be more than that. And I'm
So
aware
where is
that
the proposal of?
well, I mean, so this is not credible. 1,072,000 is very sexy for the rest. The rest are actually in the same level. 1.4, 1.6 is exactly what the TPO construction will be around this project with all the items that we solicit on our scope of work. So
First of all,
for
we
me,
already noticed, I
it's
will,
like, okay, I'm going to flex on my number to make sure that everybody focus on that, and then we go and then we do the negotiation after.
Stop betting switch.
You get it. So let me just get my opinion on that because I actually see the other aspect, but I see that this number is a little bit tricky. So for me, I probably led you to your consideration, so the majority will decide it, but I see something else. So these are going to be, like red flags. So it's going to be a change order for sure. So CNC, we know that the specification of the couples board, they don't have shingles, it's all incomplete, and this means a lot of change order in CNC. So
but from the perspective, and just to be fair also for that, there's also change order because you don't believe in RI, and they say that the cost for the shingles is gonna be 93.5.
for a company that has 27 years of experience, you don't actually come to an unresponsive bid. So this is the company, CNC, and I actually was the one that bring the company in, and I'm I love Sandra. She did a great job on the Stockholm trade, but this contractor, if it's 27 years, they must already understand, what is this paper, and don't take it for granted and don't be selected. So that is for me being responsible and responsive. So it's not cutting for that particular experience. That's my judgment.
Saying anything about it. First one, was $1.9 million. You think this reflects a responsive company? I'm just asking.
Well, I think the explanation of him was a little bit detailed because he said, I actually was making sure, because there's a lot of unknown in this construction that I actually was by the book, making sure that every single item was specified. And then when he was realizing, like
We said, let me involve other suppliers to see if I can get better prices. And that turned me off, because at the end of the day, I would say that a very specialized roofer would have all this context and doesn't have to go look for more. So for me, it's always that CNC and RMT are the top two, because the other ones are looking to try.
He put many other components that they weren't, like supposed to spec, right? And he wants to be so detailed, and I say, I think that you need to actually get the overall, but I included everything, so, well, let me just finish. Let me just finish. I didn't actually went to RY, so please, if you let me, to do that, I probably will say. So enclosures, they don't, CMC didn't include any enclosure. They didn't want to deal with that. R&D at the end proposed a enclosure between 10 and 20,000 each. And R&T, I think that he says 16,000 per enclosure. So we're talking about the same thing, 16,000. That's in the latest, no, that's on the latest contract that I actually download from what you sent. So R&Y, they already, went over, they rectify, and from the last option that he actually sent, they realized that there were some materials that they didn't need to include it, and the price went down to TPO was 1.5 and the hot mount was 1.4. So the enclosure of and the legalization also from 11,000, he went out to 5,500 for legalization, which I think is fair. It's basically similar to what we have before with AP. So they have 17 years experience. They have done school on their other contract trade. They don't qualify because they don't have that major, influence or reference to get hired. So they actually did this on their a major contractor. Yes, yes, and everything is completed.
Did you say they don't have a roofing license, or did I?
No, they were working under a major contractor, construction. So they were doing a school, and he was hiring, and he have actually experience. He have experience in residential, commercial, and also education. But what I actually get the most here, and this is one of the points, and this is my approach, Joao. My approach here is
Those years of experience in groups. And not only in groups, one of the companies, which is RIT, the guy has been working before on groups. When you talk about 17
in Florida.
on R9, it's not 17 years in groups. It's not specialized in groups. So it's a different type of experience. It's like, okay, company might have.
Do you see the website? The website actually have vast of, work on all the projects that has been done. So for me, it's RNY was the most responsive. Even he actually was the only company who provides the form from AIA, the 305, and he actually was able to provide all the information, all the documentation, and he also was willing to work and rework on the price and give us an estimate. I definitely don't have any attachment with any of them, but I see, in my particular opinion, the RNY, besides that we already established a contact with him. We know the personality. We know exactly that he's a small, but he can do because his value and the way that he's actually doing projects around. I think for me, it actually, got, and it was for me a positive thing. So
for you, it's R&Y.
So my classification is R&Y first, then R&D second.
R&Y with which
R&I will be
which system? The TPO?
TPO, yes,
Okay.
TPO, which is 1.5. Then R&D second, then roof technology third, and CNC completely the last, because there is a lot of inconsistency on the
Okay.
estimate.
Okay, thank you. I mean, if I can, before I say, what is my choice, regardless, I think that whatever we vote today, at least my vote, is conditional to answering certain questions. Because I do want to make sure, were a few points that you mentioned that we need to address before we sign anything. So we need to get from him answers,
And that'd be the negotiation.
and that would be
Yeah,
part,
that would be the.
that would be, yeah, so I want to make sure that we include it as much as possible, so we don't have change order for every little hose that comes out of the roof.
We're gonna have change order, but we need to minimize the impact of the change.
My biggest fear, we can say, or concern is when we start reshingling and they remove and they see that the decking, there's a lot of decking that is bad. The moment they open that decking, then they see there's a truss that is
Yeah.
bad, and then we're getting into that never-ending thing, because then they have to remove the trusses, which removes the stucco, and then that change order can really be major. So that's my main concern. And unfortunately, regardless of whatever choice we make, we will not know the answer to that until they start removing.
Because this is an unknown condition, and that's what we need to be aware.
Okay, so, I was with all four. I think all four of us we met with all four. Beside one. For me, it's pretty clear. I mean, I liked CNC, but because I think it's gonna be too complicated, they are out of state. So just for that reason, it's a no for me. And RNY is out of our budget, nice guy, but also, I think this is a big project, and according to his past projects, it looks like this would be his biggest project. And I'm not sure I want to be
They're
the
getting
biggest
paid.
project, of anybody, on our roofs. And then, so I'm basically in between, RT and, RD. But price-wise, it's a huge difference. So I would definitely, RT would be my first choice. Now I do see that they don't include the downspouts. They are the only ones that do not include that, no?
The downspouts, for example, are included in some proposals at the unit cost. So this is one of the things so for example, in the RNI, they include the downspouts cost. And they tell it is downspouts and boxes $750 each. So it's on top of their proposal. So what we need to do also in this proposal is to say how much you're going to charge us for each one of the downspouts. And from the ones I saw, maybe the only one that includes the total replacement is the CNC, the replacement of the downspouts.
Okay,
But we need to.
That would be a good negotiating point for.
yeah.
any-
So we need to write down all our concerns,
Yeah,
put it, in a good order, and then ask the questions correctly during negotiation. And I say it on purpose, asking the questions correctly.
so you said in order, number one, RT, RD, RY, CC.
So RT is first. I mean, RD would be second, but again, it's out of budget. I cannot even put it because we just cannot get to 1.7 million, period. So for me, it's only one choice, honestly.
Okay. Brian?
I want to thank you guys for being so well versed in this. I didn't actually get to meet the first. But you've all made a lot of really good points. I like what you said about the middle part, we have this question, right?
Yeah.
I have one that I'm not sure about, because I'm really leaning towards RT being the top. And not just because of the price. The idea that CNC is out of state bothers the crap out of me. I don't like that at all.
But,
So anyway, on the enclosures, it's saying 50,000 in the budget per building. Is that just like a misnomer? I mean, we're not gonna be adding 50,000, it's not gonna cost that much for the enclosures, right? So why is the 50,000 on there, right?
That's an allowance, no?
Yeah, vegetarian allowance.
So every builder gets an allowance in case there's a change or something additional that was not expected. So that's basically an allowance per building. So if in
But this is
a,
not unexpected, this is the enclosure, right?
That's-
And this 50,000, I believe I will team it out completely with the enclosure, so the enclosures will be taken out of the project. So the 50,000 of
the allowance,
the allowance of the.
Okay.
but regardless, I hope you take it the right way. I think that because you didn't have a chance to meet everybody,
Fair enough.
I mean, ask all the questions because they help us, because you look at it decide. But I think that when it comes to voting, and that's my opinion, you should be
Yes, thank.
so stand on that because you are not present with each one of those. That's my 2 cents, even though I love you. But ask those questions because they help us and be with us and help us with the negotiating. If that's okay with you.
No other questions?
Okay.
Good. Well, I mean,
He can be informed from the information that he received.
Oh, no, of course, but there's,
But there's no.
There's more-
Make a vote on that because he's being asked to do all the process, so when you actually don't, actually out of touch on the process, you cannot do proper value and opinion of that. He can combine anything that he wants, but at this point for rotation, it's only related to the 4 and no, 5, unfortunately.
But I would say that I agree with you. No, but I agree with you, but it's a decision from Brian.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day,
There's
we-
no.
we cannot-
Regulations, it's a decision from
It's
Brian.
a respect for the other people here on the
But
board,
it's a
so I
decision.
actually,
But it's a decision.
but I'm disrespecting my value because I'm here on this process with all you guys. And I think that it's really honest to have this process respect. I'm sorry.
So it's not a legal.
Yeah.
No, it's not illegal, but I mean, as the nation, it's not a problem on this particular project. Brian, should not vote because of all the related situation. Sure, yeah, no, definitely, he will agree, but that vote is not gonna count. That's what my personal.
okay, no, excuse me. You can't make a blanket statement like that. I have a right to vote if I want to. It may be less informed than what you are because you're more technically.
So for that reason,
But
but for that reason, I actually think that you shouldn't, like, stay and please.
I appreciate your opinion.
Okay, thank you.
yeah,
I
I
don't-
can't think of.
each person gave his opinion. At the end of the day, it's your decision.
Thank you.
And whatever, because listen, in the past, there's been people voting here on their own units, it's like, it's ridiculous.
Alan, every meeting minutes is recorded and Brian is absent. So for me, voting on the process that Brian is absent, it's not a
Your
second.
point is valid, but it's his decision.
Well, it's his decision, but it's his decision, but not the whole entire, the whole entire process, not the whole entire board. Sorry.
Okay, so that's.
We're gonna conduct this in a transparent way and an equal, a fair way. Well,
Yeah,
okay,
you're,
okay. Oh, perfect, okay, perfect. No, just in case that it's an, like, okay. I know he has no interest on this whatsoever, but I mean, let's keep the process the same way.
No, but let's say a couple things. First of all, to be clear, I have not talked with Brian about the different roofers, right? And so I'm not saying, because let me say, there could have been people in the past who would have talked to people and say, here's how I want you to vote, right? That did not happen. I don't think it's fair to Brian to say a couple different things. Because you weren't at the interviews, you're not allowed to vote.
and that's not what I said, by the way.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. And yes, this is a bigger deal, this is a bigger project, but many times we are voting on different things where we might not have been involved in every single step of the process. So I don't want to draw a line to say, I was involved 75% of the time. Am I allowed to vote? Am I allowed 50%?
This, it happens that every time that we do rotation, Brian is here, but neither when we have the management company and all this procedure, it was available. So that for me, is respect, not only for the board, for my persona as well, because I decided, because I'm actually putting a lot of effort in. So no, it's not the thing with you, Brian, I'm sorry, I just wanted to make the point clear.
But
I want to make the point clear.
Brian,
Can we understand two things? One thing,
Okay. No, it's too sensitive, this is my announcement, I'm sorry, but I'm not saying something to say because I don't know what I'm going to say.
procedurally, there are two different things. One is the discomfort that we might have with some behaviors or not some behaviors. The other thing is preventing or not somebody from voting.
This is a voluntary work and you are actually being fair and being doing your job.
So there are two
Everybody's.
different- What I'm saying is there are two different things. One is the discomfort or not with the work we are doing.
Let's keep the meeting, I just need to actually work on that because it's already been said, it's already been done, so can we move and?
Yes, but let me tell you, this is not the right moment, I believe, to raise some.
I know, but I mean, it wasn't the right moment to actually agree into this procedural situation.
No, but it-
No,
no.
I think that each one raised their opinion. At the end of the day, it's his decision and that's what it is. That's what it is.
yeah, I just want us to be cautious that participation in all steps of a process does not equal voting opportunity. I think that's a dangerous precedent that we would be setting.
I would transpose it to the United States and see how many people really understand what is happening in the Senate and in Congress, the folks.
How many people read the laws before they vote on it?
We need to pass this law so we can read the book.
all right, well, so let's keep
Well,
going on.
That's nice.
On your end.
Okay. So, Brian, do you have questions? Do you have things that you saw that you wanted to bring up?
I don't have to meet the contract to do that. I'm gonna give it my vote, I might abstain, but it might happen. But what happens if it's 2-2? What happens if it's 2-2 and then I'm the deciding factor?
Yeah.
And I have to, and that's why I said that's me. Excuse me?
I will abstain.
You already voted. You already have it. So,
Anyway, we can. run it.
So for me, I'll just simplify it. RT was my number one. I felt there's a couple different things. After the interview, the couple days later, so Jay called me. And I think that was Friday or Thursday, I forget. And said, you know, RT is going to pull out because they don't know specifically in relation to the enclosures and some other things that they don't know if they can do the job without the full engineering and everything. That was the first time I've had a contractor here in South Florida under promise something. In other words, how I relayed that to be was they're gonna do a job that they know they can do right. And if there's too many unknowns and they didn't know yet about our engineer conversation that we had on Wednesday or the other things. And so when Jay got back in touch with them, I said, well, I talked with Jay and I said, well, here's what you can say. After the meeting on Wednesday, we had a conversation as we were walking back and it was about hiring our own engineer. Alan brought that up. We discussed that. And in that that would be, like you said, they don't think, they want to just see the drawings, how they execute. And so Jay went back to them and said, this is what the board was already talking about. And they're like, if the engineer's there, and that's, then we're back in. Why is that important to me? Because I'm not having a contractor like the other one who said they can do it all, they can do anything, they can get it all done, enclosure is $5,000. Where's the engineer? There was no engineer. And I'd rather have a company come to me and say, here's where I'm struggling on this project. Let's talk this out. Let's see where the pieces move. And so for me, RT, in terms of price, obviously is the number one. In terms of time, their turnaround time was strong. In terms of quality, is, I think, would be the best because they are only going to deliver what they believe they can promise.
And they're working on major,
Yeah,
Buildings.
I forget the,
360 in, they're working on a big project. How do you call that, the island, huh? Yeah, next to Indian Creek, forgot the
Ball
island,
Harbor, or,
no, the 79, you cross the island.
I don't know.
Oh, anyway, it's a huge building, they're doing all the roofs there, they're doing 3 roofs on Lincoln Road. Which are commercial.
Yeah, Lincoln Road.
Uh,
So, just for the record, I did have CC second, RD third, RY fourth. Yeah, I don't need to go into the full details. I really did like Alex, from R&D, the sales guy. But you're supposed to like the sales guy. There's something wrong if you don't, but honestly, I think he has been persistent. He did a good job, but once the project initiates, he's out of the picture. And so my picture of RD was Alex, and I did not get a good
but
vibe from the other two. So
now for the record, RT is gonna be using a different system.
Carlisle, TPO,
Carlisle, TPO. It's not this,
not Duralast.
it's not the one.
Which, by the way, can be positive because we can still sell
Okay.
these.
I was telling him we should sell it to RD. They do Duralast.
If you do a reverse auction, we start with $100,000, 90,000, 98, etc. Whoever comes here, we invite 3 or 4 people. Can we do a reverse auction in Florida? In March?
Who knows?
Who knows?
So in that,
The numbers are good.
I have 3 people who said RT.
If you put the 1, 2, 3, 4, even with the 3.5, because I didn't understand if you put RI or CC first, but it's exactly the. So we have RT with 6, RD with 11, CC with 11.5, and RI with 11.5. And that means that I'm putting 1 point, the less is better. And it's a big difference between the first and the second. It's from 6 to 11. The other thing I want to mention is the honest, the other thing I want to mention in this meeting is that R&D is out of our budget. So even the second one is out of our budget. It's
Yeah.
like, we might be very fancy about R&D, but we don't have money to pay. Then CC comes up exactly with R&I with 11.5. And in
But they
fact,
were actually using this material, so this material was actually supposed to be done for building 23 because we don't need this material for the roof.
and even with the discount of this material, they are still out of our budget. R&D. I'm just based on numbers, the numbers are numbers. So if you look at the R&D number, and you discount the $100,000, we are still not about.
Oh, we need to resell also this in order to make up for the price and we're gonna.
We're gonna try.
It is actually the same.
Yeah.
So my point here for RT is that the scope of work is not completed and, 1.72 is not going to be the final cost.
So, okay, we need.
Well, and I agree with that, and I think to your point, any number that any of these contractors did, it's not gonna be the final price.
So imagine if that is exactly the same, so this was a very differential price from the rest. So for me, it's a caution. So.
No, and I hear you, and I appreciate you, and I understand the reticence of your point, and where I see it is, in any construction, there's,
Hit the numbers, so I don't think.
Okay, so let's do,
No,
okay, so
but-
let's do an exercise.
We have the Excel model. So if we have to agree, all the elements of R and I are not present, even then they are less expensive than CNC. That's the point. And the CSC has not all the elements also are there. But I'm just talking.
Okay,
about-
we need to do that exercise of doing an email.
No, they are all capable, they are all can do the job. So once, like harder than the others, but I think that they all have the same.
Ah, so
opportunity. My
let's do the
concern is
exercise.
That number is for me not convincing, and it's one, the one
So
that
put-
seduces us.
So put all your concerns on writing in bullet points, so we can address all those valid points you mentioned. And make sure we have the answers before we sign any dotted line.
And imagine that now our IT secretary, our student is out from here, then we say, okay, then we cannot work with you guys, or we go and do the school.
We're gonna pass it to the investigation stage, so I don't.
Of course. Yes, but we don't have to say immediately to the other ones that they are no longer. chosen.
And by the way,
Let's start negotiating process.
People are.
And they, once again, people are listening, what we are saying is that we're gonna start to negotiate with the winner. Now, if the winner, obviously, during the negotiation says, no, we are cannot promise you increase in fees, it might need to go to the second one.
I say we ask the questions to both, and we can parallel work with two. I mean, we know what's our first choice.
The only problem is that the only two that are feasible within the budget we have is CC and R&D. Because when we start with 1.6, 1.7 with R&D, it's 400,000 above our budget. So we can make the question for R&D. The problem is that they don't have the money.
DC doesn't include the whole scope, and this is one of my biggest concerns. I'm telling you, I'm with you, I like them, but I see that.
Just want to talk
We
about-
all growing.
But what I'm saying is that the big part is the roof. And they are excellent. You mentioned the electric room, okay, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. You do the electric room, the big ticket items are there. And those, the other ones, the big ticket items that are not there is related to the student. Besides of that, all of them were the ticket items. The numbers are not.
CMC doesn't include the shingles.
Much less.
The shingles are not in the proposal.
For the 1.5. 1.5, yes, yes, we're talking about the first.
No, I mean, the whole contract, they don't include the shingles.
okay, so let's, any other discussion before we,
Again, the vote we're doing right now is to negotiate and then make the final, but based on the information we have right now, the choice is RT. Okay, correct? So do we need to vote? So who is in favor of RT?
So we do a motion,
We do a motion?
so I second the motion.
Okay,
Let's do a motion to pursue without.
we're doing a motion to pursue negotiating with RT. Who's in favor?
Aye.
Very good. So it's a motion to get into negotiation. That's,
So it's gonna be three.
or four. Well, it doesn't matter at this point if it's 3 or 4. Okay,
I'm gonna record it's a three, not one.
no, he voted.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not gonna count.
Alfredo, it has to count.
I don't think you can make that.
I know it's not wrong, it's not wrong. I just wanted to actually, elaborate the.
Everybody's a plus,
So.
You gotta continue with this?
So,
By the way, he voted on continuing to allow to negotiate. So,
well, no, for later, perhaps, he can participate, until.
okay, let's move on.
Okay, that is the last point.
Okay.
So we will, on behalf of the board, will reach out to Jay. But I would like, questions to stay within the board only before I communicate with Jay. In terms of how we want to approach the negotiation.
I think that the negotiations stay on our side.
Yeah.
I don't see Jerry.
Yeah,
I'm not a good negotiator, but.
I consider myself a not bad negotiator, but
No, we need to actually make from this point on, if we really want to continue with Jay, as, I don't know if we're gonna finalize the last step of the RSP, or we are going to, stop from this point on, because, time is money, and he's gonna charge us for, I don't know, if we want to,
The first stage of the contract is the $12,000 goes into the signing of the contract. That is my understanding of that.
I think that Jay right now, the only thing that he can be helpful with is just clarification of yes, included, not included, this and that. But then when it comes to, all right, let's sit down and let's try to get them to include more stuff, that's us. With the contractor directly.
So, on the second stage of the project, for sure, we need to replace and have somebody, but now for the factory. For being side by side in the work.
Oh, you mean,
Okay, so sounds good. We are ready to adjourn. Thank you all for joining. Let me stop recording.